Okay, welcome back everyone to our first video of the 2025-2026 autumn and winter. We have not done an upload for a while, but we are back for the winter where it starts to get quite interesting. So we are going to be doing the first winter update and winter forecasts. Well, a brief winter forecast. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into this right now. Okay, so I've just pulled up this summer and autumn so far, temperatures and what it's been like. So we are going to be basing this part of the video on the August section. So we are going to be looking at winters following an August with a temperature of around 17.7, so 1.9 degrees above average. So we're going to be basing it on that. So we are going to get into that right now. Okay, so we're going to go back as far as we can, and here we are. Right, so we've got the winter of 1985, and this is December to February of 1985, and we're looking a bit like this. We've got high pressure over Greenland and in the Arctic regions. We've got low pressure to the south. It looks a very cold winter indeed, so that is good sign if you are a fan of the cold conditions. Next up, we got 2005, which, as you can tell, is a little bit different, but the high pressure is much more further south and not as much blocking. It's sort of a mid-Atlantic ridge. We're probably pretty cool with the wind coming from the northwest, or maybe it just slides over the ridge as sort of a flat westerly. But there was cold snaps in the winter of 2005, and it's still not a properly mild year at all. 2017 was a bit different. It was quite a mild year, anticyclonic, very dry, doom and gloom, sort of just under high pressure. You know, a bit of frost, a bit of mist, that sort of winter. Winds coming from sort of the west, or maybe at times coming round this ridge, pulling in from a bit of an easterly. But the proper cold there was up here this winter and did not make it towards us as much. 2020, this is not a very good winter if you're looking for something a bit colder. This is not the winter that you would want at all. We've got an extremely deep polar vortex, the PV of doom. We've got high pressure sitting to the south. Look at this, and it's just a flat westerly, storms all over the place. That winter, not very nice at all. 2021. This was a winter that was very, very close to being freezing, but it just about managed to just stay on the milder side. It was extremely close to being a freezing winter, and we call it a teaser winter because it had signs, and it looked like a very cold winter on the cards, but it just didn't sort of happen. We sort of Scotland was freezing; they had loads of easterlies all the time. We sort of just that's not easterly, that's westerly. Easterlies all the time, but most of the country and the UK got these westerly just popping up. We did have cold spells, but it was just to the north. We were very close, but it just didn't happen. But it was a big blocking signal in that winter. Right, this is every single December combined out of them winters. So December is looking like this. It's pretty promising, I would say. Um, there is some good signs if you're looking for a colder signal. Um, but December has got high pressure over Scandi. Easterly winds are going up there, so we do look like we could have a bit of a cold zonality there. But it's probably just unsettled and fairly mild from the Atlantic. All Januaries combined look a little bit more interesting, and I would say a little bit, quite a lot. If you do take a look at this, we've got high pressure blocking over the Arctic and Greenland and towards Iceland. Low pressure dropping in the Balkans and over Central Europe. And it looks like we're going to be bringing easterly wind. The Atlantic looks like it'll threaten. It looks like a big snowmaker for parts of the UK. So that's quite an interesting chart and is a good sign if you're looking for some cold. February, is looking very interesting indeed. By far the best chart of the day so far if you're looking for a colder winter. And it looks very, very good. Look at this high pressure sitting, blocking to the north, low pressure trough to the south, easterly winds, very, very cold and wintry. Right, this is all winters combined, and once again, it's a very good signal. Um, Persistent and very strong blocking in higher latitudes over the poles, and we've got low pressure dropped into the south. It looks like the Atlantic might have a go sometimes, but overall, it looks like a very nice easterly, cold, classic winter. So, good start to the winter update if you are looking for something colder. Right, let's go and have a look at the QBO. This has been interesting because we have got a positive NAO, so that does decrease our chances of a colder winter. But because of this, we are still sort of in the game. So this is the winds, the zonal winds, and we have been in a westerly phase for a while. As you can see, this is the westerly here, this yellow, and the blue is the easterly phase. And as you can tell now, we are coming up towards a very strong easterly QBO, which signifies the winds will be trying to get in from an easterly direction in the winter more than usual. Right. So, we are going to have a look at the CFS for a bit of fun. I just want to say, though, that there's a lot of factors in why winter would be cold or not. And at the minute, there's some signs that aren't as promising if you're looking for a colder winter. I mean, you might not want a colder winter, but a lot of people do. So one of the signs is the NAO, and we have been forecasted a positive one this year, which is not as good for colder conditions and blocking over the pole. But we have got an easterly QBO, which goes in our favour. We've also got a La Nina, which favours more blocking in over the northern regions, Greenland, Scandinavia, and over the Arctic. And we've also just had an SSW in the southern hemisphere over the Antarctic, which could affect our polar vortex, weakening it to start the winter in November and December, which could increase our chance of blocking if the polar vortex is weakened, and could give us a chance, a larger chance of an SSW, which would in favour produce us a colder winter. But there's plenty of time. We've got plenty of updates to go. There is signs of a little bit of a sign of a tripole with the sea surface temperatures, which would rather favour a colder winter, but it's not a proper one, so we are not going to say that there's a tripole. I was just going to mention that as a bit of an extra. So, without further ado, we are just going to have a little bit of a look at the CFS, which we don't do very often because it's a bit of a model for a bit of fun. So, I'm going to move us down there so I can see the move what I'm doing up here. Right then, so let's have a run through the CFS, our current situation. We have got high pressure pushing up towards Scandinavia, and we've got southwesterly winds, nice and mild at the moment. Let's just have a quick run through the winter to see what we are being predicted. Okay, so here's the ex-hurricane coming on Saturday. Strong winds. It doesn't get as far south as some of the models have been saying, but once again, it is quite a big storm. There'll be a lot of rain and heavy winds with that, especially in Scotland. Some severe winds, 100 miles per hour gusts. I wouldn't be surprised. Then we do get the flat westerlies in for a bit, quite mild and dry there. We have a bit of a cold snap here around the 13th of October. Winds trying to get into the north. Polar vortex is sort of sitting over Scandinavia, which is a little bit unusual. There is signs of some blocking up here, which is quite unusual, but as we are only in the autumn, that we don't really take too much notice. But if the signs get bigger, it could be a teaser for this winter ahead. After that, we do get another push off the Atlantic, bringing some more settled conditions. A mid-Atlantic ridge tries to get going over Greenland, but it doesn't quite get there. Once again, we see the high pressure trying to ridge north, doesn't just quite come off though. Then we do look quite stormy as we head into November once again. and then we do get into quite a flat westerly pattern with high pressure and low pressure and storms sort of just battering us at that point. Then, as we go into early December, the low pressure drops south and we get some blocking over Greenland. Just there, wait a minute. Take a look at that over Greenland, blocking area of high pressure. Winds are in from the northeast and the north, and as we get into the 5th of December, we get a proper cold spell going. That'll be a very cold start to the winter. Just there, that'll be very interesting. Upper air temperatures are at -5. None of the proper cold has got down yet, but that will be pretty chilly, to say the least. We stay in a pretty cold pattern then through December. High pressure starting to ridge back in, which we do get milder for a time, but we have still got the winds in from a frosty easterly at that point. By the time we get to Christmas, we are actually trying to get the winds in from the north, and by this point, as you can tell, the winds are properly, the cold air is properly getting in now, and the winter is really kicking off. The polar vortex is up and running as well, so a pretty cold December, but in the early stages. We do have signs of blocking trying to get going over Scandinavia there, but never really comes off. And we are pretty stormy as we go into January. Then we get another cold snap into January, and we do get the high pressure blocking, bringing that cold spell gets pretty severe. It's quite prolonged, a bit of a snow event there, I reckon. Blocking over Greenland and Iceland. Look at that. Look at that, that would be a snow event. Moisture coming from the south and the cold air is positioned to the north and over the country. That would be a very interesting run. That would probably be a big snow event, if not a blizzard. Then the low pressure comes back in, but once again, high pressure blocking could bring some more snow, and the cold conditions never really leave. And as we go into February, we get back in to the cold conditions. And the upper air temperatures once again -10 getting into Scotland. It's a pretty good run from the CFS if you're looking for colder conditions. Then we do get high pressure building, doom and gloom. And then look at this towards the end of the winter, 23rd, big area of high pressure, more on the Canadian side of Greenland, very close to being in the freezer for us. To February, look at the cold over Europe just here now, plunging south just there, getting pretty far south, as you can tell. That would be quite cold for us as well, but not severe. Then we do get the milder winds starting to come back in, but the winter is quite good. And as we go into March, there's still cold signs. Well, that's all the chart data done. I've got to say, just take that run with a pinch of salt because it is the CFS and it's not going to be right. Some things it could get right, but it's probably not going to. Overall, that was a pretty interesting first update to the winter update, but that's not it. I've got a swingometer to show you what I think the winter will be so far. In my view, we've had a positive NAO, which is not a good sign. We've had an easterly QBO, a very strong one, which could be a sign for a milder one, but easterly QBOs usually do favour colder winters. We've got a La Nina that favours colder winters. We've got an SSW in the southern hemisphere over the Antarctic, which could affect our polar vortex. So that is on the edge a bit. I'm not going to say much about that. We've got tiny signs of a tripole in the sea surface temperatures, which I'm not going to take too heavily just because it is not a full tripole, it's just signs. So, overall, for the first update of the winter for 2025-2026, coming out on the 1st of October, my guess is that we're looking like this. I am going with 52% cold and 48% mild, so it's about a 50-50 at the moment. I have gone for the 2% on the cold side because we've got a La Nina, we've got east of the QBO. We've got some things that favour a colder winter, and long range forecasts have been displaying that we could be in for some kind of colder winter. I haven't got it too far cold because obviously we've got a positive NAO which favours milder winters and less blocking. We've also got long range charts at the moment, like from all the models, the winter forecast, not really going for anything very cold, looking very unsettled and just westerly. But we did have a few charts going for a colder winter. So that's why at the minute I'm favouring cold by 2%. So basically take it at a 50-50 at the moment. And that is all I'm going to say. Thanks everyone for tuning in to your first winter update. I hope you enjoyed and we'll see you in the next update. We'll have some normal videos as well, but stay tuned for the next winter update next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we are back for the winter, so make sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.